What is up, guys? How we doing? We got Peacemaker episode 7 leading up to the finale yesterday, and my god, what an episode it was. It was, honestly probably my favorite episode yet, considering the twists and turns I didn't see coming and how emotional it was. So let's dive into it. So we pick up right where we left off last week with Peacemaker unrolling the flag and realizing that he's in Nazi America. And Harcourt's like, how could you not realize, that you're in this world? And he's like, well, I just didn't, notice. And then they have a joke about a mural on the wall, and it's literally Hitler. He breaks up with Harcourt too, and him and Harcourt basically kick some ass in Argus and escape. And then we go to Vigilantes, both of them talking about how Germany won in World War II, and the Sons of Liberty are trying to fight against their oppressors, and that minorities are in camps forced to do labor and whatnot. And he's asking our vigilante about his world, and tells him that America won, and he makes a comment about, man, you must live in like a utopia, and he says, well, I came over with a black person, we need to go save her. And so that's what we cut to. Adebayo running from the zombie-like mob that's chasing her down. And like we kind of all saw coming, Judo Master swoops in to save the day. She dives into a pool for whatever reason, and he gets her out, and then he gets wires and electrocutes all the people in the pool that were racing after her. And while they were racing after her, Keith is called up by Augie, and Augie says, drop what you're doing and get to the house. Then, Adebayo and Judo Master go and stay at a house where the owners are on vacation, and their plan is to stay there until dark and then go and try to rescue Peacemaker and get back to the other dimension. And they have some bonding moments and talk about this world and our world, and play a game of Scrabble instead of Scrabble. And he's sitting here shit-talking Chris, and she's trying to make him see, past his flaws, he's actually a really good person. And he fucking says that his music taste is the kid next door from Toy Story. Fuck you, man. And then, she talks about the cruel intentions and Hanoi Rocks, and which this show has got me going through the cruel intentions. Augie and Keith, and they're talking about how they need to figure out how many there are and round them up, because if word gets out, if they tell anybody that they have the dimensional portal, they're fucked. Augie also lets Keith know that his brother is dead, and explains to him that a long time ago that he actually saw his own doppelganger in the quantum unfolding chamber, but there was just something cruel about him, as if he came from a darker version of our world, which is very ironic. And then we cut to Chris and Harcourt on the peace cycle. We get a really awesome moment of Harcourt for the first time. She's riding on the back, with her arms around him, and she rests her head on his back, showing him affection for the first time. And John Cena's acting in this episode, phenomenal. I mean, through the whole season, the acting from him is phenomenal, but this episode, his acting is amazing. You're just able to see so much through just his face. She rests her head on his back. They're getting surrounded by cops, and he grabs her hand and holds it tight, and finally what he's been after all along. Like, then they get surrounded by the police, and Augie and Keith show up and kill them all and say, if you want to live, come with us. We then go to the house, and Augie says, all right, Lau, tell me what the fuck is going on. And Chris tells him everything truthfully, beat by beat, what we saw, and, tells him that, it was an accident. I came here drunk. I didn't mean to kill your son. I ran away. I just hit the thing on his chest. He went up. He died. He asks, why did you come back? And he says, I just wanted to know what it was like to have a family. So after hearing all this, obviously Keith is really upset, but Augie surprisingly is compassionate. And Peacemaker says, like, my brother died, Keith died whenever I was a kid, and he was my best friend, and which is so fucked because now he took away Keith's brother. And then they have Augie and Keith, because Keith is getting upset, have a conversation about their Chris and how, like, he was violent, he was using drugs, and, like, maybe deep down he was good. Like, Augie does not seem to be all that upset about Chris's passing, and which checks out because in our universe, Keith I fucking loved, but you like, so you can definitely see that here, but he still at the same time has compassion for this Chris, because of what he must have gone through with that other version of Augie, and believes that he's telling the truth, that it was an accident. And then we cut to Adebayo and Judo Master, who are outside in the woods, and vigilantes, both of them show up, and they make a plan. They talk some shit to Judo Master, and then they make a plan to go and sneak into the back. The police show up, and it's the cop from the first season, and he wants to look around the house. Augie tells him to get the fuck out, and closes the door, and the agent stops it just like in the previous season. And he says, look, I'm not saying my son's innocent, but he's not here, and get the fuck off my property. And and so he goes back to going and talking with them, with the gang, and he asks how many more there are. Harcourt points out that he murdered a bunch of innocent people, and like, she's like, why would we tell you, and he's like, well, I just saved your lives. And while murdering a bunch of innocent people. And he's like, dude, the cops around here aren't innocent. And then she spills, like, there are a couple more, and Keith asks if one of them was a black woman. And then this is when we get to, like, just the craziest, nobody had this on their bingo card part of the episode, where Keith says, yeah, there was this black woman, and I was chasing her. And then Augie goes, well, why the fuck were you doing that? Have you kids learned nothing? And then Keith replies by saying, I thought she got out. So I don't know if that's implying that he, believes in these Nazi ideologies too, but Augie follows that up with, that's not what we're supposed to do. That's the one thing I'm having trouble with, is he said such a horrible sentence. One got out, it's a black. But Keith was also trying to get Augie to call imps by their correct name. So you could make the argument that he was trying to save Adebayo, put her back in the camp so she didn't get killed by civilians. But at the same time, he was chasing her down with them like zombies. So, like, I don't know where he stands on that line. Harcourt calls Augie a Nazi, and Augie ends up saying, like, no, like, I'm not. I don't call me that. I cannot help the world that I live in. The only thing I can do is, like, fight the threats that are in front of me. And it turns out that this Augie and the top trio aren't actually Nazis. And I don't think anybody saw that coming. At least Augie isn't. It seems like Keith is kind of like teeter-tottering on the line, and maybe Chris was and Harcourt was, but you know, the fact that Augie isn't, that we went from one of the worst sentences to now learning that these guys aren't actually as bad as we thought they were, is just insane. And really wasn't expecting that. You know, like, and I'm so happy that that's the twist, because we all predicted this would be Earth X. You know, that wasn't a huge twist when it finally got revealed. We all predicted it. But I doubt anybody predicted that this version of Augie in a Nazi universe, where his ideals, that he, you know, where his ideals from our universe, he ends up being a good man in this universe where those ideals are welcomed and he's against them. And he gives this awesome speech about, like, just how he tries to just do what he can, and when Judgment Day comes, he just wants to leave the world knowing that he made it a better place. And as he's giving this speech and we're realizing, oh shit, this Augie's actually fucking nice, he wants to just round them up, send them back. You could argue that part of that's just, I want you to get the fuck out of here so you don't find out about the quantum unfolding chamber, so our, you know, law enforcement doesn't. But in the podcast, they do confirm that Augie is a good guy. And we see Vigilante in the window, and before Chris can even react, after he gives this beautiful speech and we find out that he's not a fucking Nazi, that he's actually a good guy, Vigilante comes through and violently stabs him in the neck and kills him. And from, like, the next 5 minutes are just so, just, like, emotional on so many different levels. Like, you got Augie, who was actually a good dude, just got fucking murdered. That sucks. Keith lost his brother and now his dad. And then, while Vigilante is killing him, the gang rushes to the library to go through the door. And Keith shoots one of his, like, blaster things from his suit, and the cops start invading the house. And both Vigilantes are fucking the cops up. And while they're trying to escape, Keith comes through a wall, tackles Peacemaker, and starts beating the shit out of him. And Peacemaker ain't fighting back. Like, I think Peacemaker, like, if he were to have a face-off against Keith, he would just let Keith kill him, you know? And Eagly goes to save him, and then the whole 11th Street kids come together to, in a wholesome way, somewhat, come together to rescue Chris, and they're stabbing Keith and choking him out, and then Peacemaker just lets out this, like, guttural, like, scream and says stop and get off of him. And he goes and he holds Keith and says, it's me, you know, it's not your world, it's not mine, it's me, it's everything I touch. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with us? Like, it's such an emotional moment, and he just starts fucking sobbing. And we're getting flashbacks, you know, to his brother dying and him shooting his dad, and just such an emotional moment, because all of this, you know, your jaw's on the floor because you just realize, holy shit, the top trio are actually good guys, Now they just got killed, and like Peacemaker now fucked up two worlds. He just wanted to see what having a family was like. They ended up actually being good, and now because of his intervening and putting himself in this universe where he didn't belong, he ruined their lives. And now, so he sobs, he tells them to get off of him, and the cops are coming, so they run through the door. And if you're a rock fan like myself, my favorite song of the episode starts playing, which shout out to the band. It's called We Can Never Die by Veins of Jenna. And Harcourt stays behind and tells Vigilante 2 to give me a gun. And she's going to shoot Keith and says, sorry, I can't have you coming after him. And right before she does, the cops come in and shoot at her. So Vigilante shoves her through the door, kicks the door shut. I wonder what happens to him and if he gets out. And I'm sure he does. But then, yeah, the song that's playing during this moment is a banger. I want to point that out. It's my favorite song of the episode. And then we see Keith being loaded onto a stretcher, and he's just fucking raging and sad. And, like, he just lost his brother. He just lost his father. He doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know these people, right? Like, these people just showed up, and now his life is shattered. And so... God, that's just like, it's so complex, right? Like, Peacemaker grows up with this awful father, is forced to kill his brother, basically, lives his entire life moved by that. Like, everything he does is because of that incident. Then he goes over to this world, finds the family he always wanted, and fucking accidentally kills himself, gets his dad, good version of his dad, killed, and almost gets his brother killed. And now his brother from this other dimension fucking hates him. But yeah, they get through the portal, close it, and hand it over to Argus. And Peacemaker says, this is what you've been looking for. They all came in to convince me to give it to you. And even, what's-his-face, Judo Master backs up his story. So Peacemaker gets arrested, and that's the end of the episode. And it's just an emotional... It's emotional on so many different levels, man. Like, it's emotional for Keith. It's emotional for that version of Augie. It's emotional for fucking Peacemaker. Like, now he has it in his head that, like, he's the problem. And his arch nemesis will now be his brother. This is such an in-depth character study, and I fucking love it. This has really been a great season. And it's just so sad that it turns out these people were actually good, and they die anyway. And now Keith, the very brother that Chris loves, lost, it inspired the whole life path that he chose, is now gonna be like his fucking arch nemesis, and he's gonna end up having to fight Keith at some point. Like, and with the current state that Peacemaker's in, if Keith were to try to fight him, I think he would just let him win. Like, I don't even think he would fight him back. But maybe they're going a different route with the finale. I don't know. I'm hoping that that's what the finale is going to be, is a Keith Peacemaker showdown. But I don't know. It was a really emotional episode. It was short yet again, but just really emotional and jaw-dropping. Like I said, I doubt anybody expected, like, And that's what I love about fucking James Gunn's writing, man. Sure, we were all able to predict that this was going to be a Nazi world, but I don't think anybody predicted that the top trio were actually going to be good people. It doesn't sound like Chris really was, but it sounds like Augie and Keith, for the most part, are against this Nazi ideology and are actually good people. And I don't think anybody was expecting that. And then tragically gets killed. And now Keith rightfully is like, so you understand both, you know, this is all Peacemaker's fault. You understand Keith's rage at him. You understand why Peacemaker feels so broken. And like, yeah, this episode was heavy, man. But a really exciting episode, really good, and I can't wait for the finale. I'm baffled, for real. Yeah, just baffled. This was a really good episode, really fucking emotional. John Cena's acting was phenomenal, and yeah, it's been fun to review this with you guys, and I love you. Thank you for watching. And yeah, I truly baffling, man. Like, yeah, it was a really good episode. Did not see it going like this.